Hanukkah 2018 is bringing a bit of light to what's been a dark time in our region since the shootings at the Tree of Life Synagogue on October 27th. Last weekend, hundreds gathered outside the Tree of Life to mark the first night of Hanukkah, which celebrates a victory over tyranny, among other things.
Happy Hanukkah!
The attack may have been even more shocking because of the important role Pittsburgh's Jewish community has played in the history of our region since the founding of its first and largest synagogue, Rodef Shalom, in 1856. Well, part of that story is the subject of a new book, The 17th Generation, that focuses on the life work of Rabbi Walter Jacob, who served as senior rabbi of Rodef Shalom for more than 30 years. Next to the last day of Hanukkah 2018, and welcome. Good to have you here.
It's good to celebrate with you.
Yeah, and it is a celebration. Was it a little more challenging, perhaps, this year in light of the events of late October in Squirrel Hill?
At the beginning, but then you don't let that color what the festivities, and you go on, and especially with young people, doesn't make any difference.
I guess, yeah, the children are into it for the family and the pageantry and a little bit of the gifts. I've been intrigued in reading a little bit about the history of Hanukkah in the United States and really how important a holiday that has become here as a real reinforcement of the Jewish faith and sort of a spirit of Jewish community.
Correct, and it has become more important, you might almost say worldwide, with a you might say an anti-Holocaust mood. You know, now that's past, okay, but we have our eyes very much toward the future and toward a bright future, which is, after all, the way in which the Maccabees went at this.
The book is called The 17th Generation, reflecting in part the generations of your family as rabbis. But one of the passages in the book that I was really struck by was when you emigrated to the United States in around 1940, I think. How much the growth of Judaism and how much the United States has really shaped the evolution of Judaism and that sense of optimism about the future?
Well, it is the sense of optimism and the American sense of, you want to do it? Do it. Ask. Just go ahead and start working.
Now, so you're born in Germany. You kind of discovered that here in the United States along the way once your family was forced to leave Europe and wound up here?
Yes, yes. And starting out not on the East Coast, but in the Midwest, also is quite different because that's, to my mind, the real America. That's where things start and happen, and where people feel there's really no frontier.
Interesting. Well, you grew up in Missouri, which wasn't that long before you got there, truly a frontier back around the turn of the 20th century, and then you wound up here in Pittsburgh, kind of the east coast of the Midwest as well. Do you see a lot of the sensibility here in our community reflecting that same sort of American sensibility?
Yes, very much so. And I mean, it is partly East Coast, sure, and partly a heavy industry rather than rural as the Ozarks, where I grew up. But the same kind of hopeful spirit.
And I was intrigued too about your kind of return to Germany in a sense later in life when you were really one of the co-founder of the Abraham Geiger College, which is really working in Germany today to reestablish the Jewish faith in some ways. How did that come about, and what gave you the confidence you could pull it off?
Well, there were two things missing in the German Jewish community. Well, three things, actually. One is numbers. The numbers were very small compared to the pre-war Jewish community. And the other was there was a strong desire to do something, but no real leadership. We needed rabbinic leadership. And so the only way to go at it was to establish a rabbinic school. And we decided to go ahead and do it.
And was it an obvious, or did you have to fight or overcome some opposition or skepticism, I guess, in Germany and in Europe to be able to do this?
Skepticism, not only in Europe, but elsewhere. People said, well, why do you need that? Why can't you just import some people? But that doesn't work. People have to be in a country and be part of it, and then really start to express themselves as part of it. So we started with that spirit of optimism and said, we're going to do it. And if there are people who need convincing, okay, we'll get on the plane and convince them.
You're doing. That's the true American spirit. So how's the college doing, the Geiger College today?
College is doing very well. And in fact, we've just started, which is really kind of an experimental program. We want to train some rabbis for Russia. And the problem is that if you bring those people to the West, whether it's Germany or the United States, they'll stay there. So we're starting to do that largely by Skype and see how that works out.
Oh, that is remarkable. So using modern technology to be able to spread the faith back across Russia, that's really remarkable. I wonder again, as we began, this is the last day of Hanukkah, and as you think about your own life, from Germany back to Germany, reestablishing, helping to reestablish Judaism, obviously the challenging events of the last few weeks. Are you as optimistic about the future for our community and for the world as large as you seem to have been throughout your life?
Yes, I think so, because you cannot let a single incident, sad as it was, throw you off your course. And I think the basic optimism that has existed here in Pittsburgh and generally in the United States continues, and I think it's up to us to see to it that it does continue.
All right. Well, at the end of the day, it comes to each of us as individuals to carry that spirit forward. The book is called The 17th Generation, the life work of Rabbi Walter Jacob, and thank you so much for stopping by today to talk a little bit about it.
Many thanks for having me.
And we'll be back in a minute with a little dollars and cents. Please stay with us.